Hi, this is Erica Norton, and I'm the founder of Perfect Legal Video. I'm very excited to have with us today Attorney Nicole Reeves Lavallee. She owns a real estate and family law firm in the Worcester area, and we're very fortunate to have her with us every single week talking about issues that come to court and giving us advice and figuring out how we can save ourselves some money by having the right knowledge. Thank you so much for coming on the show today and welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. So, today, my understanding is like we're going to talk about what are the issues that are worth suing over. Because, I mean, we talk about how people waste a lot of money on fighting over a lawnmower or something like that. Um, but there are things that are worth fighting over. And I guess you could still talk about silly things that people want to fight about that you're just not going to pay for. And I know that there's like probably a million examples, and you have to uh, kind of change those so that you protect the client's privacy. But we can talk about some of the stuff that people try to get away with that you just have to say, no way, Jose.
Yeah, I think it really you know, you have to look at the big picture. And I guess that's what a lot of people don't want to do. They want to get into the weeds, they want to get into the petty stuff. Well, if you want this, I want that. Okay. And the most common one that we seem to fight over a lot about is a lawnmower. Go out and buy one. They're not that expensive. Of a grill, go out and buy one. Like those are simple things. Like why are you spending all this money on attorney's fees? Obviously the things that matter is what really matters, the children. Your big assets, your houses, your cars, your retirement accounts. Those are things that ultimately have a lot of significant value or are priceless that you should be fighting over and you should dig your heels on for the right reasons.
Right. I mean, you're never going to be able to make those memories again. I mean, you have kids and they're only all of these different ages once, and you get to enjoy every stage. And when you're fighting over time, I mean, not something crazy, not like I don't know, 45 versus 55% of the time. That's silly. But if someone's trying to take 100% of your time and you are a perfectly good parent, there's no reason for you to split your time that way, then, possibly that's a good thing to fight over.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it, people want to fight over sometimes like we're fighting over an hour. Really? Split the difference, call it 30 minutes and be done with it. So again, we're going to look at is the time really worth it? Because the court is not even going to entertain you. Let me be clear. When you come in and you say, I want 3 o'clock, and the other one says, I want 4 o'clock, the judge is going to laugh at you both. And the judge is going to say, attorneys, go out and talk. And the attorneys are going to go with their tail between their legs because they're going to get yelled at. And rightfully so, because this is not something for the court to decide. So we will take the beating because we have to. But at the end of the day, now you've left a sour taste in the judge's mouth where you guys are fighting over silly things. And let me tell you, their temper is going to be very short with you the next time you're in front of them. So it's again, pick your battles.
Right? I mean, their dockets are full. That's why it takes months to get any decisions made and any time in front of the judge. So you have to make sure that you don't look like a jerk and that they end up respecting you and looking at your uh, what you're trying to do is reasonable. So be reasonable, don't be unreasonable.
Absolutely. And again, I think, I've heard it on the opposite end, which is I really appreciate, all your hard work and dedication to resolving this issue. I know that your children are going to benefit from you resolving this in an amicable way. Guess what? That's also going to be in your file for next time. So those are the things that you want the judge to say, and you can walk out there proud with your head held high and knowing that you did right by yourself and your children.
Speaking of that, I know that people can get somewhat petty especially when the ex-spouse or ex-partner gets a new partner, and then all of a sudden They may try to propose all of these rules around what the new partner can and can't do, what, where they can be, where they can't be. Have you seen a lot of that petty stuff?
Yeah, and I think it really depends on, what that relationship is like. Are we divorced and this is a modification and this is years later? Are we talking about we were together last week and today we're filing for divorce? And now I'm with my boyfriend. And now I'm introducing him to the kids. So we all have to look at the big picture, right? Because that's going to define whether or not it's reasonable. But at the end of the day, being petty and having that conversation, or better yet, putting your children in a situation where you can't go over your mother's house because her boyfriend's over there, that's not going to help the situation. So one, you have to show tact. Two, you have to remember the children shouldn't be involved in any of these activities. They don't need to know what's going on, because ultimately what's best for them is having a healthy life and a healthy environment. And when you bring the children into that, all they're feeling is attention. The court's going to realize, and ultimately, you can end up losing the children by saying things that are inappropriate.
And that's so hard for you to avoid when the kids are around because they sneak around sometimes and they want to hear the hot gossip that's going on with the adults. And so you don't always know. So you have to be really, really careful. Like, leave the house if you're going to talk about that stuff. Make sure that you go out in the garage and they're asleep. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but otherwise, you just don't realize. And I know it's like it's an emotional time, so sometimes people don't even care.
That's true. And the reality is, my position is just don't say it. When you're at work and you're on your lunch break, go ahead. You're safe. When you're out with your girlfriends, go ahead. You're safe. Otherwise, don't say it. Especially now in the household, because like you said, little ears hear everything.
Exactly. So, we've talked about a couple of the big ones because divorce and breaking up, they're very emotional. Time with your kids, uh, sometimes it could be that you have a special item that meant a lot to you. Um, Not a lawnmower. Like, is it worth fighting over a special item?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things that usually come into play. And the special item, sometimes, a lot of times, is a collector's, a collector item. You know, I like He-Man, whatever it is. I like the action figures. I like, Marvel comic books. It's those types of things that usually has the most attachment. The problem is your ex knows that, and your ex doesn't care about those items. I know your comic book collection has a value of $50,000. I want it. I'm entitled to half. And I'm not giving that up. Are you out of your mind? This is my collection. So they know that tug, and they're going to tug at it as hard, as fast as they can, because they know you're going to do everything in your power to either prove the minimization of value or get them to go off of it. And the problem is you need to have something in return that they want. And so again, we look at it and go, well, what can you offer them? Sometimes it is monetary value, but sometimes it's something else. Maybe, and it's not apples to oranges, but maybe they want a holiday and you give them the holiday and they stop worrying about your comic book collection. Sometimes we have to be that creative.
I mean, that's interesting because then it's just okay, well, that's what a negotiation is. You are figuring out like, well, I want this, then, you can have that and you try to figure out what everyone is going to find amenable. But I mean, there's also the situation of the house. So if you have a house with somebody and oh, the children have grown up here and we've got their measurements for every year on the wall and how tall they got and um, you know, I can't afford to live anywhere else and but what if they can't afford to buy the other person out?
Well, ultimately, it's going to end up being sold. But it's something that you go. Great. Hopefully I did it on the trim of the door frame. And I can replace that one piece of trim and I can put it in my new house because it's the same measurements. And if you do it on the wall, sorry, your sentimental value is take a picture and deal with it. Because you're going to lose it. So I think, you have to come with an expectation of, yes, we all want everything that we want, and we're all entitled to it. But the reality is we're not. When we're going through a divorce or separation or stuff like this, we have to have a give and take. And ultimately, if you don't give or take, the judge is going to make that decision for you. I guarantee you, he's going to sell everything.
I mean, that is really interesting, and these are some of the things that people get very attached to, and they're willing to fight over it, and some of the stuff is worth fighting over. I mean, where things that are of huge monetary value, uh, like the 401k accounts, for example, or maybe somebody has some jewelry, and usually, if somebody like, I guess. What about wedding rings? Do people keep their wedding rings or are those considered part of the assets?
It is not considered part of the asset. A wedding ring and engagement ring is a gift, and it's a gift for a condition precedent. I will marry you. And once you marry, then the condition has been met and it's yours. However, we fight over those nonetheless.
I mean, because some people have very expensive rings. And, what if it was their grandmother's ring?
That's one of the questions that I always think about because my ring is was designed by my husband's grandfather and was given to his mother. And so it's always one of those things I go, oh my God, if I ever got divorced, I'd have to give it up. And I'm so attached to it. And it's beautiful. And it's an antique. But could I do it? It's a hard thing to consider, but I think at the end of the day, again, legally, I'm entitled to it. Would I keep it? Probably not. I would
But you
probably do
would
the right
get,
thing.
yeah, you would get something in return though, right?
It depends. Again, I don't know that the value is that much that it's worth fighting over. Again, I think it's more sentimental for both of us.
And that's when it's tough, when it's actually, well, there's two tough things, right? When it's sentimental for both of you, or when you hate the other person so much that you just try to take the things that are sentimental to them.
Absolutely.
Now, can we talk about trust? Because people have trust, and sometimes they they come to fruition where they get to use the money. Maybe it's no longer in a trust anymore, but it wasn't a trust when they met them. I mean, tell us a little bit about how it would work when it comes to that. Because I would think that none of them are touchable, but I hear that people actually fight over it anyway. Because
They
why
do.
not?
They do, and sometimes the answer is exactly that. Why not? But what you just described to me is it was in a trust that they couldn't really touch, and then later on they got the money and they could touch it. Well, that tells me it might have been a premarital asset or an inheritance, but the moment it was commingled into the family bank account, good luck trying to prove that it's not a marital asset. So you want to be very cautious in determining where I'm putting this money. Am I putting it into another account only in my name? Am I having you draft something up acknowledging that it is only mine and it's used for my purposes? Or am I buying family trips with it? Am I buying houses with it? That's really what we're going to look at. So once you kind of expose it, if you will, and bring it into a marriage, then it could very well be free game.
Now I know somebody, sorry, 3, 2, 1. I know somebody who, uh, well, so they come from a lot of money, but they bought houses. They bought some land and a condo, and it's in a trust. They put it in the trust name because, the parents that had a lot of money wanted to give them some of the inheritance early. but did not want it to be something that could be taken away by, by the other spouse. So, that is in a trust, and they just, I guess they bought stuff and they were able to use things, and they put it in the trust that is the family trust.
And we really have to look at, again, who's the beneficiaries? When does the beneficiary actually receive that? And are there conditions? So a lot of times it's, hey, you have to reach a certain threshold. Maybe that's an age limit. Maybe it's the passing away of somebody else. Um, but if there's conditions, then it really is not owned by you. Maybe you get the benefit of living in the house, but it's not yours. And maybe the condition is, hey, I don't have to pay rent because the trust says so, but it's really not yours. So again, we have to go with, what does the trust say? And it's really important for us to read those documents and then also determine who's the trustee. Because if you're the trustee of the trust, then you can do whatever you want and therefore it's yours. But if somebody else, like if I'm the trustee for you, Erica, then guess what? I'm controlling it. And yes, I have to follow the terms of the trust, but I get to control it. You don't get to decide. So it's not really your asset. It's an asset to the trust, and I make that determination based on the language in the trust.
That's interesting. So if the spouse was actually controlling the trust, then it is their asset. And it might be up in the air during the divorce.
It will definitely be subject to looking at and possibly a division of assets. Yes.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, heck, when I went through a divorce, I was on a website, a dating site, and it seemed like every single person I went on dates with or spoke with was still married and trying to go through divorce. I think it was elite singles. And a lot of them talked about their trust. And yeah, I've got this trust, and my wife wants to try to have part of it, and the fight is taking a long time because of that. And either that or they just were married and lying. I never really could tell in the end. I'm a trusting individual, but I did end up getting married from someone that I met on that site, and they were going through a divorce too for, another year and a half. But thankfully it went through, and now we're married.
Sometimes it works out.
And one of the things that comes up, because I know you and I are both huge animal lovers, and people do feel like their pets are their children. And so, is it worth going to battle over a pet? I mean, do you do visitation and switching back and forth? And then, that's the beauty of not having kids. You don't really have to see them again after you get divorced. But if you're going to do this for the pet, I mean, how does the court view all that?
The court isn't going to necessarily entertain that. That's going to be one of those things that they're going to be like, counsel, go outside. But at the end of the day, if the parties are talking about it, then certainly it's something that needs to be addressed. And again, really it goes back to, are you doing it for the right reasons, or are you doing it to screw your ex? If you're doing it for the right reasons, generally I think people are cautious, but they're willing to work out some type of pet parenting time, if you will. But then we also have to put in the language that says, hey, if and when there's vet treatments and everything else, the owner is going to be responsible for it. So you just want to make sure that the language is tight. A lot of times when I think you are fighting over pets is when the pet is an asset. So you have a dog breeder or a horse breeder or something like that, and this is a stallion that's worth a lot of money. Well, yes, then we're talking different scenario whatsoever. The court's certainly going to entertain those types of conversations because that's an asset that has significant value, where unfortunately the average pet, average dog is, $100. And that's how the court's treating is, this is nonsense. Why are you fighting over this $100 thing? When of course we're going, are you joking? How dare you say that about my dog? But again, unless it's bred for a specific purpose or has the pedigree that you're looking for, the court is really going to kind of go, stop.
Well, I mean, and that's interesting. You also find the people that are so hateful that they don't really care about the dog or the cat or whatever. And I know you have some horrific stories about this that you can't really share. But I personally know somebody who, before it was fought about in court, just took the dogs, well, told the owner, told this soon-to-be ex-spouse that he brought the dogs to the pound. They're beautiful golden retrievers. And they were brothers, and that they killed them. But that is not what happened. They brought the dogs to a back to like a rescue, and for that breed, and they were rehomed, and found nice places. They were nice, really nice dogs. But the other the soon-to-be ex-spouse wanted them and just needed to find a place to live that they could have those two dogs. So, I mean, that was just it's petty. People get very petty.
They do indeed. And unfortunately, I've had that exact same scenario where we fought over the dogs. We fought over them for hours on end, and then lo and behold, we agreed, and we only to find out the very next day that the one dog that we let him take, he euthanized. So now I have to put language in agreements that says you will get him, but you are not allowed to do this. And if you're going to do this, then the other person has right of first refusal to keep and take that dog back. I mean, it's absolutely petty, and he did that out of spite to hurt her. So it does happen, unfortunately.
And I'll tell you, how many years has it been? I don't know, maybe 30 years? Yeah, about 30 years. That ex-spouse still thinks about it every day, and it is something that would really hurt somebody. But it's not the pet's fault. And no matter how much you hate someone, it's just not right. That's like a child. So to people that don't have children, or even people that do have children, um, that's the wrong thing to do. No matter how angry you are, or no matter if they cheated or, stole your money, whatever it is, living beings should not be treated as a pawn. And that goes for children too. People so often do that.
Absolutely. And again, I go back to it. It's frustrating to me because sometimes I just tell my clients, you can't show your hand that that's really what you want, whatever it is. The moment we do that and we single it out is the moment the ex is going to go, nope, that's mine. And then it's going to be this big fight. So, there's a method to the madness of, well, we'll look at this and we'll look at that, and maybe and we're already doing the matching game in our head is what we can offer. But if they know it, sometimes people are just vindictive and they want to dig their heels in just out of spite. And I'm going to tell you that karma's going to come back. And the reality is, don't be that way. Move on with your lives.
Yep, it makes a lot of sense. And I really hope that nobody out there has to deal with anything, that horrific. But the the truth of the matter is, if you don't know if something's worth fighting for, you don't know how much it's going to really cost you emotionally, time-wise, monetarily, then you absolutely need to be, don't work on this on your own. Definitely get Nicole and her team to help you out. I mean, because even if you just need some outside eyes, some experts to look at what you are going through and what's plausible, because you can really look at the strategy and figure out, is this going to be worth it? Is it actually going to happen? What do you think the judge is going to say? I mean, how many times have you actually been in a courtroom and know the judges and have seen how they rule on other cases that might be just like yours? That kind of advice is priceless. And so, definitely don't go it alone. Definitely call Nicole and her team. They're fantastic, and they give it to you straight. with empathy, but they do give it to you straight.
We try. I mean, the reality is sometimes we just don't know what something's worth. But once we do know, then we have a game plan. Because you know what? I'm not out there to spend your money and so you can what? Lose money at the end of the day? It's not beneficial to you, it's not beneficial to me. We want you to make a clean break and be able to move on.
Absolutely. And so, we absolutely appreciate your help and your knowledge and your kindness in carrying this in sharing this with us every single week. And so we will look forward to talking to you again next week. I want to thank everybody out there. Thank you for listening and tune in next week. We will have another interesting topic to help save you money and stress and help increase your knowledge on these topics.